Here.
Councilmember Silva?
Here.
Councilmember Peralta?
Here.
Councilmember Bates?
Here.
We do have a quorum. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Silva.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next, we'll go to approval of the agenda. Council members.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item number 5, approval of the minutes, the meeting minutes of October 9th, 2012. Any question to those minutes as presented?
None, Mr. Mayor.
No, Mr. Mayor. I have none, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve.
Motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item 5B, the meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2012. Any question to those minutes as presented?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Move for approval.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to item 6, the Citizens Forum. And at this time, we have Mr. Jeff Northrup. Okay. Okay. Next, we have Ryan. Can't understand the
Excuse
writing.
me, Mayor. That sign-in sheet, it just indicates that there's a check mark that they wanted to speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just signed in for the meeting.
Okay, and Mr. Forbes already spoke, he already left, so. Okay, under the Citizens Forum, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the Citizens Forum and move to the consent agenda. There is 3 items on the consent agenda, and I'll go through these consent agenda, and if the council would like to move any of those out of the consent agenda, we can do those and discuss those at that time. Item 7A, grant from the New Mexico Finance Authority, consideration and possible acceptance of a $20,000 grant from the New Mexico Finance Authority to complete the community economic development element of the revision 2020. No match is required. Item B, grant from Los Jardineros Garden Club of Taos, consideration and approval of acceptance of a $2,400 grant awarded to the town of Taos by the Los Jardineros Garden Club to be used to landscape the patio at Taos Aquatic Center. No match is required. Item C, contract TT13111, memorandum of agreement with the Village of Taos Ski Valley, consideration and approval of contract TT13111, memorandum of agreement in the amount of $30,000 between the town of Taos and the Village of Taos Ski Valley for transit services during the 2012-2013 ski season. The service will commence on December 14, 2012 and end on April 7, 2013. Those are the items on the consent agenda. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we have item 8A. The members of the council, it's a pleasure that we've reached to this portion as mayor of the town of Taos to the appointment of a airport advisory board member from the Taos Pueblo. This is part of the ongoing EIS and closure of that. This is part of our agreement with the Taos Pueblo, and that is to confirm the appointment of Taos Pueblo of Mr. Clyde M. Romero, who is in the audience. Welcome, Mr. Romero, to the Airport Advisory Board, AAB, in accordance with Town Code Chapter 212 and the Memorandum of Agreement between the Federal Aviation Administration, Taos Pueblo, and the town of Taos. I did speak to the chairman of the Airport Advisory Board, who, of course, fully supports this. And in discussion with him, he mentioned to me that by appointing a member and in keeping the 5-member board, one would have to voluntarily step down. There has been some discussion within the members of the Airport Advisory Board, and there is some volunteers that would gladly step down. One being Mr. Moises Martinez. However, if it is the pleasure of the council to, I think there was some talks and we never finalized this, that if we appoint a board member from the Pueblo, that in order to keep an odd-numbered board, we would have to appoint or create an additional board member. The Airport Advisory Chairman said that he can go either way on it, and I believe that there's not a recommendation at this time to expand the Airport Advisory Board, but and if that is the pleasure of the council to do so, we could remand it, accept, of course, the appointment, and they would, one of those members would voluntarily resign, and if they decide that they need to recommend to expand the Airport Advisory Board, they would make that recommendation to the council. Is there any feelings on that, sentiment of that?
Mr. Mayor, just a question, and then the advisory board would go to 7 members rather than 5 in an expansion?
So in an expansion, by virtue of creating the Pueblo position, we would have to then appoint one more individual. So it would be up to the council ultimately, of course, but right now there's not a recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, the reason for the question would be is that because of the agreement with the Pueblo and appointing that one member, it gives them one position. I'm just wondering if that would in expanding the board, would keep that single member from the Pueblo on the board, or would we consider an additional member by expansion?
I think
According to the agreement.
You know, I think that you know, in my position being there had been talks about if we were to create an additional position. There was one time where we realized that would make it an even board, and I think someone in the room suggested, well, the solution is simple, just create another position. It's 2 positions rather than just one. But it would be the Pueblo, the agreement is pretty clear that one member of the Pueblo serves on this board, irregardless of its composition, 5 or 7. But it appears to me that it would be a non-issue that if one is already, an individual is already deciding to step down, that solves the problem. Councilmember Silva.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question with regards to maybe these 2 individuals that are volunteering to step down. Are they? Is it time for them to do that on their own? Is this just an opportunity for them, or are they doing it reluctantly? Would they continue to serve? I think that if these members that we have now on this board, if they are engaged and they enjoy doing that and they look forward to it, then I would say that I would like to just add an additional member to make it a 7-member board, unless they are willing to step it down for reasons of their own. Maybe they're tired, they want to move on, and they're doing it for those reasons. Then I'm okay keeping it a 5-member board.
Yeah. The chairman did say that he, in his experience being on boards, prefers it be a 5-member board, given the fact that members have graciously volunteered to step down. It has not been a situation where anyone has, you know, refused or reluctantly, or it's been a very, very united and consensual process. Councilmember Abeyta.
Thank you, Mayor Cordova. It would be my preference, Mr. Mayor and council members, that we leave the board at 5 for 2 reasons. Number one, the chairman likes the idea of leaving it at 5, and he does have 2 volunteers that one of the 2 would step down. And we don't want to send the wrong perception to the community that we're adding a new position for a Pueblo member, but then to offset that, now we're adding a position at large. So leave it at 5. It's worked at 5. Bring the board member from the Pueblo on board, and let one of the folks, those folks that are volunteering to step down, have been there 10, 15, 20 years each. Change is good. They're willing to step down. Let's do it.
Mr. Mayor, one more follow-up
Councilmember
comment. Thank you. With that rationale, then I fully agree. In addition to that, I would like to just say welcome on board Mr. Romero, and I happen to have known Clyde since he was a very, very young man. His dad and I used to work together, so I could say that you know, we couldn't ask for a better person to be sitting on that board. Thank you, Clyde.
Councilmember Fidel.
Mr. Mayor, also, I agree with Rudy, Councilmember Abeyta on this, because we just passed the ordinance that approved the board change and kept it at a five-member board with one member being from a representative from the Pueblo. And that's the reason I was talking about the other problem that may occur. And I think that that's what it should be, but I'm just questioning, and maybe this is a question for our attorney, since we changed the ordinance, would it not be appropriate this time then for the mayor to reappoint a new board based upon the new ordinance?
It's certainly appropriate, and the ordinance and the bylaws that council just approved anticipate that that's exactly what will happen. And I would point out, if we're going to add two members, we're going to have to go back and change the ordinance and change the bylaws.
So, Mr. Mayor, what we're being told then is that it would be appropriate for you to then discuss with the members of the current advisory board and indicate and have them decide which members should step down and then bring those members back to the council for ratification.
Okay. So I believe what I'm hearing is the pleasure of the council is to leave the ordinance as is, the composition of 5 members, which I fully support, and the list of the final 5. One thing is very clear is a Pueblo member, and namely by today's action will be Mr. Clyde Romero. But at the next meeting for ratification, if we can bring the remaining 4 for council ratification, that way we know exactly what the composition of the board is. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so entertain a motion for approval to confirm the appointment of Taos Pueblo member Clyde M. Romero, and I'll also, for the record, that the Pueblo has also wanted to appoint a alternate, which that is Mr. Floyd Gomez, correct? And both these gentlemen, I agree with you, Councilmember Silva, that I think the Pueblo chose an excellent team or excellent representation. I worked with both these individuals during the whole process, and I think that they're very knowledgeable in the issues. So, okay, entertain a motion for approval.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Welcome to the Airport Advisory Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
We look forward to your input, and I know that there's a long journey ahead in the implementation of the EIS, so we look forward to your input.
Mr. Mayor, maybe it'd be appropriate to have him come up at least so the
you like to
viewing
say-
audience can.
Would you like to say a few words?
He's still
to
putting you on the
'cause
spot.
You're on TV, so
Just so the community know who Clyde is.
he will be the face of the Pueblo regarding addressing any concerns at the airport.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Clyde Romero. I've worked with Taos Pueblo for 3 years now in the governor's office, so it's my pleasure to serve the community in this capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Clyde.
much. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, next we will go to item B. That is also regarding the record of decision. That is contract TT 1009 Amendment 3 with URS Corporation Southern. Consideration and approval of contract amendment 3 to URS Corporation Southern contract TT 1009 for FY fiscal year 2012 through 2013, and increasing the contract amount by $105,386,000, $105,386,000 for the completion of the Taos Regional Airport Environmental Impact Statement, printing and distribution of the record of decision, preparation of administrative files, preparation of administrative record, and project management. A Federal Aviation Administration grant in the amount of $94,846, and the New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation grant in the amount of $5,270 have been awarded to the town of Taos. The town of Taos, the town match is $5,270, has been budgeted in the airport construction fund. That was a tongue twister. Oscar.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, yes, it is just a little bit complicated. I think it merits me just explaining a little bit more here what's happening. As you know, we were assisted by the URS, the engineering firm, through the environmental impact statement process. They've been doing this now for quite a few years. In essence, they were following the leadership or the direction of the FAA in this process. To start out, they were awarded a $60,000 grant. So this amendment of $105,000 amends a $60,000 contract that we had with them. And so this was a fast-moving process, and along the way, or several stretches along the way, URS had to do work expecting to be reimbursed later. And so what this does is settle the arrears that the town with the FAA were in with URS. So this closes out the environmental impact statement process, and there's nothing more left to it than that. So this amends a $60,000 contract by $105,000 to pay them for the work that they've already done in helping the town of Taos through the environmental impact statement at the airport.
What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item C, consideration and approval of Resolution 1260A, amending Resolution 1260 to accept amendment grants for the design of Phase 1 of Runway 1230 for the Taos Regional Airport and Federal Aviation Administration and the New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Division. The original amount approved under Resolution 1260 had a project funding breakdown amount as follows: Federal Aviation Administration, $800,000; New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Division, $44,445; the Town of Taos, $44,445, for a total Phase 1 project cost of $880,890. The amended resolution indicates the Federal Aviation Administration has offered to increase the grant amount to $894,000 with the New Mexico Department of Transportation Aviation Division match of $49,667, and the Town of Taos match $49,667 for a total Phase 1 project cost of $993,334. The town match has been budgeted in the Airport Construction Fund. This, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, is the design of the runway and the runway expansion, and ultimately this will move forward the project, which will bring in about $24 million of construction renovations at the airport. This is huge for the town of Taos, as it took about 25 years to bring to fruition, and I'm proud to have this on the agenda. Any questions, comments? If not, what is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Councilmember Peralta.
in reviewing the background on this, for the public, this is only Phase 1 of the project design. There are additional phases, and the total estimated cost for the total design of the runway is $1,695,080. So looking at this amendment, there may be a little massage in those numbers as we go down the road. But this will get us into the initial stages so that the final and approval of the FAA and then the final designs will come in after that.
Great.
Yes, sir. No, if I may just add a little bit more there, because you will be getting a future amendment later on for Phase 2. The reason it's been broken down into phases really is because of the funding cycle at the federal government. So they decided to go with this part because they had money left over in their previous fiscal cycle. So suddenly $94,000 came available, and I guess as more becomes available, you'll see it coming forward. I just want to let the council know that you may very well be seeing this this resolution coming back to you again and again and again until we get up to the $1.7 million for the design.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Silva.
Yes, so, Mr. Manager, am I to understand that the consultant, Armstrong Engineering, will they just, the project cost came in at 1.695. So does that mean that they're just going to be amended by way of change order, or is that how does that work?
No. what's going to happen is, as the federal government is able to identify funding for us, they will say, well, look, we have more money so that we can take the next step and then the next step and the next step. And it won't be a matter of so much as a matter of well, I guess it will be a change order. Excuse me. You're right. It will be a change order of our contract with Armstrong, which is totally controlled by the FAA. In fact, they chose this contractor, and we're just going through the process of that. But yes, let me step back a little bit and say, yes, sir, we will be amending their contract once it starts going by means of a change order.
Thank you. That's all I have.
So this is the design, the first phase of the design that'll essentially keep them busy for a while, and then
Yes.
as money comes
At
available.
least for about, we're estimating about 2 or 3 months, about 4 months, and then the final phase that'll include the final specking out and the final preparation of the bid documents. That'll be the last 2 months. It was estimated that the whole design process would take about 6 months, so we can expect potentially for the bid documents to be ready June, July.
And the biggest challenge that we face is we need to have the matching dollars, and might as well make that announcement now, is in order for us to have that type of money come in from the federal government, we have to, the state has committed about $1 million, and we have to commit about $1 million for that project. So it's going to, for the construction, and so we, by June, by next fiscal year, we have to figure out a way how we're going to come up with that kind of money, because we can't afford not to come up with it.
That's right.
So, okay. All right, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll go to item D, Public Affairs and Tourism Department. Review, Public and Affairs Tourism Department Overview, PowerPoint presentation on the department's duties, responsibilities, the resources it manages to accomplish them, and the services levels achieved and related salient issues. Presented by Joan Griffin of Griffin Associates and Oscar.
Oscar Rodriguez.
Joan, welcome to our meeting,
Thank you.
and thanks for everything you do for the town of Taos. I hear there's a lot of exciting news happening
I'm
these
very
days.
excited to show you what we have today.
Great.
Mayor, members of the council, what we have here today is once again our monthly review of an important department. I wanted this department to be one of the first ones to come up because it is a very important department. And pardon if I call it a department. I have elevated it to a new status, but in fact, it has that importance. You see, in Taos, we depend very greatly on this transaction that takes place when people come and visit Taos, whether they sleep here, they come and just spend the day here and buy a meal, buy something, etc. That generates a gross receipts tax, and for our general fund, and for our general fund, that accounts for about 80% of the revenues that support that fund. And so that activity is a very important activity for us, a very critical important activity for us. And like any enterprise that's in this business, more or less, the idea or the formula is basically this: you invest, you market, you get people, you make your destination attractive. People come and they spend, and it's for that reason that they come and they spend. And so the resources that we spend towards marketing Taos in that way is very critical. It is not a frill. It is not in any way anything less than a basic expense. If we spend less in this area, we would expect over time to receive less. Now, in the presentation that you're going to hear today, I want to highlight just one thing, one main thing, and that is that we are building a process. We are building a process by which the resources that the town spends on marketing Taos is collaborative, it's inclusive, It coordinates with the other efforts in the community, whether private or public, to market the community so that what gets out there is as much as possible a common message, at least a supporting message out there, and that we are consistent over time. And so what over time what happened is that the former director of marketing, Ms. Conley, worked very diligently to build this process that we have now inherited. And one of the last things that she recommended as she was leaving was that it's in place. I worked really hard for it to work. So I recommend strongly that you now use it and go with that. And so what we have now is an ongoing effort to build on that, to follow through with that, and we think it's going to be very successful. One last thing I want to point out to you is that in these days of a recession, and I've pointed out to you previously and privately what that's doing to the town. One of the things that is looking well, or at least looking stable, more stable than all our other sectors, is tourism. That's one area that shows us indications that it is still strong, it is still going forward, and perhaps not as strong as we would like for it to be, but it is going forward. And so therefore, the efforts that the town has invested towards marketing the Taos are paying off, and so it's working. So without any more, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Griffin. Okay, and we're going to do the PowerPoint. So here we go. No. Let's do the PowerPoint first. Okay. And so what we'll do is we'll review the department, and then at the end we'll share with you the things that are being done to market Taos. So perhaps we would begin by just explaining we were about to go into a new marketing new campaign.
So every year for the last 5 years, we've had kind of a theme. If you recall, back in 2009, we had the Summer of Love, then we had Return to Sacred Places, then we had Land, Light, and Legend. Last year was Remarkable Women. And moving into 2013, we are going into Adventures de Taos. And we chose Adventures de Taos because it dovetails nicely with what the state is doing, which is the New Mexico True, which is adventures steeped in culture. So I brought some creative samples, and they're going to be on the boards, which we'll show you. The other big difference going into 2013 is we are working with a company, Honeycomb, out of Colorado Springs. They are a return on investment company that specializes in tourism. And so what they're working with us is setting up all of our metrics and all of our advertising so that we can track exactly the results. And I'm going to show you a sample scorecard that we've put together from July 1st to October 31st, and you'll be getting these reports every month from us so we can see exactly how our marketing is delivering.
Right, here we go.
Do you want me to do it, or are you going to do it? Are we doing it together? Me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Resources, Griffin and Associates. So my company, I think everybody knows we have 10 people, and the staff resources that are allocated.
Pardon. I'm sorry. It seems we
Went too fast?
there is.
Another briefing.
It seems to have skipped a page.
Tourism marketing overview. No? Is that where we started?
Okay.
All right. We're going to start with the resources. So
It's missing a chart, but
It's missing a page. Yes.
yeah. Duties and responsibilities.
and I don't have the master one with me.
And
So
I don't know what happened there.
anybody have a hard copy of it?
Pardon. Let's.
Can you go to previous? Will it click it or no?
We're not.
Joni, would you like to borrow this for a moment?
I'll cheat, huh?
Eric, go ahead.
Golly, it's up there. It's not loaded here. Yeah, we're missing a page
Okay.
from that.
Do you mind if I just borrow it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the duties and responsibilities. We do an annual plan, which starts usually in the January through March timeframe, gets vetted throughout the community. We negotiate with the media vendors to execute the plan. Public relations, we are doing every single week. We're sending out an average of 2 press releases a week. Some are regional, some are national. I think everybody's on my Friday report now where I'm sending you some of the top clips every week. So we are continuing to get massive PR, and that's really one of the major things we do to promote Taos. We also follow up with the key A-list media, A-list being any media venue that has at least a viewership or a circulation or a listenership of 500,000. We host travel journalists and coordinate with various local vendors when travel journalists are coming to town. And then every week we send out on Friday those clip reports to you. Advertising, we spend a big portion of the budget on advertising. You'll see about 70% of the budget actually goes out to the media, so we're constantly negotiating with the media. I demand from all print media that we get online presence, so we won't buy anything where we're not also getting online, just because so much of today's travel is done online, so we want to be where the travelers are. We also always negotiate discounted rates and value added, so whether that be a free sweepstakes or a free e-blast or a free online ad. We design all the ads for dissemination. I'm going to show you some of the new creative. We regularly interface with web design. Janet Webb is right back here, and Janet represents the Taos County Lodgers Association, who produces the Taos Visitors Guide and produces Taos.org, which is our main tourism website. So we are in pretty much daily communication, so those two organizations are working together all the time. And one of our roles is to update the content. We disseminate 3 newsletters every month. We do our big newsletter that goes out to a database of 1.1 million people that have either signed up for our newsletter or have expressed an interest in traveling to New Mexico. We also do 2 newsletters that we call them our Goots, Get Out of Town, and that goes to people in the Drive Circle and the media in the Drive Circle, and that goes out every 2 weeks, promoting things that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. We send out weekly outreach to the community. We attend all the Taos Tourism Council meetings. We attend all Lodgers Tax Advisory Board meetings, and we attend just about every meeting that anybody wants us to be at. We're happy to be at. And then we also wrote and oversee the grant that we have with the New Mexico Tourism Department, and that's a $40,000 grant. Thank you, Councilor Silva, for letting me cheat.
No problem.
So then what you'll see here, so we have a staff of 10, but allocated specifically to the Taos account is the equivalent of 2.5 people, and you'll see our staff is divided up between social media, PR, creative, which is the graphic design, web design, video, and then the accountant for the invoicing. The total budget is $438,000. $398,000 of that comes from the town of Taos. $40,000 of that comes from the state of New Mexico Tourism Department. 30% goes to the fees and the production of the ads, and 70% goes to the ad placement. And the full $40,000 from the state goes to ad placement. And then technology that we use InDesign for graphic design and web design, for print, web, and social media. Vocus is our PR software. That's a database of 1.4 million reporters, bloggers, news editors, and then Microsoft Office for day-to-day and QuickBooks Pro for accounting. And then Honeycomb, which is the latest thing that you're going to see. Actually, let me just pass that out right now. This is going to be the report card you'll be getting every month. So we're very excited about this, and they're working with us to set up the coding for everything. So everything goes into what they call the hive, since they're honeycomb. It's kind of cute, and allows us then to track everything. So what you'll see here is we're looking at our reach. So the first number is your PR impressions, and what you've got is our target and then where we're at, and if we're trending up or down. You'll notice for PR right now we're trending down, which is not unusual because our big hits come the first quarter, so we'll expect that number to go back up. Email impressions, and again you've got fiscal year 12 first, then our target for fiscal year 13, and then where we're actually at. Then we look at engagement, and so that's all our website traffic, mobile traffic, and you'll notice how much more of our traffic is becoming mobile. So it's very interesting to watch the trends as things are moving. People are getting all their information on their iPads, on their iPhones. I watch it myself. I have a laptop which almost never gets opened anymore. So more and more people are accessing our information mobile. which gives us even more reason to make sure we're out where the world is. Website page views, Facebook, and I just got to brag for a second on Facebook. We are now over 6,500 Facebook fans, and that we went up 3,400 in the month of October. So we ran some Facebook ads for contests for people to win free trips to Taos, and it just skyrocketed. And then we look at the percentage of people opening our emails that get sent out. Lodger's tax is obviously where the rubber meets the road, which is dollars into the town. VC is visitor center walk-in traffic, and then the numbers of guides that are being mailed out. You'll notice that number is trending downward. That one also we're not that concerned about because we would much rather have people download the visitor's guide from the website than actually have us have to pay to mail it out. So actually kind of happy about that one going down. And then our total audience on Facebook likes. So you'll see we're way ahead of the. We ended last fiscal year in June at 2,338 Facebook likes. Our goal for this year was to get it up to 2,455. We're already at 6,426. Probably have to adjust my goal. So this will be coming every month. It'll be sent to you along with our monthly report. Okay. So the annual plan is a 3-month preparation cycle. Monthly reporting goes to the town manager as well as to you. Public relations, we write weekly news releases which are approved by the town manager, and then those go out either regionally or nationally, and then those results are tracked daily, and I compile them weekly and then put them in the monthly report. We design material requested by the town and or committees. We update the annual plan. We will continue doing the grant writing, and this year for the town of Taos, it's the first year we got the maximum from the state. The maximum grant was $40,000, and when they awarded us the grant, they told us that ours was the role model grant for other communities because we so were in sync with what they were doing. Prepare monthly reports for the grants, direct the management of the grants. And then community outreach, there's a lot that goes on in the community. So locally, there's the Tourism Council meets every other month. Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is meeting monthly. And then the Tuesday Marketing Group. And we have some Tuesday Marketing Group members here, John Ablin, Janet Webb, Mary Jane Morgan, and Nikki Ross is not here, and Stacy Glazer is not here. We meet every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and you're all welcome to join us.
And by the way, it just bears underscoring here a little bit that the community outreach is not just a nice thing to do or a matter of democracy. We just think that we are much more effective by working with people who are also investing in their way in the marketing of Taos, and this way we sort of are able to collaborate, hear what they're doing, see how we can do things together and get ideas from them. So this is a matter of leveraging the resources and also combining resources so that we can be effective marketing out there.
About the Tuesday Marketing Group, people have many hats. So John Ablin, who owns the Dreamcatcher, is also part of the Taos Association of Bed and Breakfast Inns. Janet Webb, who's not only fabulous as web design, is also the Taos County Lodgers Association. Nikki Ross, who owns Twirl, is also part of the Taos Project. John's also involved with the Taos County Chamber of Commerce. So we have lots of different entities all being represented at the Tuesday Marketing Group. And then advertising, we do quarterly ad plans and then design and send the ads. Do you want me to show those now since we're there?
Let's go ahead.
Okay. So I'll do one to each and you can pass them around for Adventure State House. I'll turn around and hold it too. So this corresponds directly with what the state is doing with the New Mexico True Campaign, which is really dramatic photography, a quote, and very little copy. It's not exactly the same as the tourism departments, but it's very similar. And I was just in Dallas last week on a press trip, and Monique Jacobson, our cabinet secretary, was there, and she just fell in love with the campaign and said, oh my God, when I go to the legislature and ask them for money, I want to bring this campaign because it shows exactly what she wants to do, which is have other communities utilize what the state is doing and have everybody work together so that the brand for the state is consistent. Now these all happen to be outdoor adventures. The same campaign will work with culinary adventures, will work with art adventures, will work with spa adventures, and Taos County Lodgers Association and the town, we have purchased some really fabulous dramatic photography. So between the two organizations, we have new photographs this year. And we have photographs of festivals, so all the various adventures. These are just 4 different samples. Those boards that you're holding, I took with me to Dallas last week, and the media just went crazy over it. It's just, it just so captures. And what we're looking for in the photos is to depict things that are only Taos. So, you don't want to just show somebody drinking a great margarita. You want them drinking a great margarita with a backdrop that's Taos. So, that can't be anyplace else in the world. So that mountain biking scene is definitely Taos, and that gorge scene is definitely, and I love the picture of the man taking a picture, and then finding great quotes. So that's what the new campaign is going to be.
Beautiful.
Do you like them? So looking at our SWOT analysis, our strength is the continuity. We've had 5 years of collaboration, of working with the local partners, well-defined oversight, a communication structure that's working. Our weakness is the departure of our long-serving tourism and public affairs director and greater reliance on the marketing contractor. It's proving to be a little bit of a distraction in town. People are worried, whenever there's change. Oh, we lost Rudy back there. That can be perceived as a weakness. Opportunities, Taos' emerging distinction from the rest of the mountain region, and that our culture matters. I'm sure you're all aware of all the positive designations we've been getting. So, Taos keeps showing up at the top of all the lists, and we're really starting to separate ourselves from the pack.
Yeah, again, because culture matters. You can go skiing lots of places. You can go to mountains lots of places. And I guess there's lots of outdoors out there. In Taos, you have all that and culture. You can come into town and take in a lot of culture as well. And a few places offer all of those together.
No place offers all that together except us. The new management structure will allow greater involvement by local partners and provide for a more stable marketing effort. And we have great relationships with the New Mexico Tourism Department. Threats, weak economy could mean declining lodgers tax and a smaller marketing budget. And we did see that this summer, while most of the lodging establishments saw good numbers as far as their occupancy rates, they're finding that they have to discount somewhat to attract people. We're in this kind of, everything's for sale mode. So that is definitely something, hopefully that will turn around, but I think we have to be realistic that could continue to be a threat. And then a lower general fund revenue could increase pressure to divert the marketing budget.
And I can vouch for that. I'm more continually now getting proposals, by community groups to do things, and saying, well, can't we use some of the marketing budget to do this because this is important? And there might be, some people coming in from out of town to see this. And I just suspect that pressure. Well, we should expect that pressure is going to grow with dwindling resources to get funding otherwise.
So the work plan, our strategic focus and priorities, infuse local tourism marketing effort with considerations of return on investment. So everything that we look at has to have some means of us being able to measure. We don't have a big enough budget that we can just do something because, wouldn't that be nice? There's a lot of things that would be nice. It has to deliver a return on investment or we're not going to do it. Making clear the new management structure so that everybody understands it. Increasing lodgers tax receipts. And our list of projects and objectives, make the marketing and public relations plan more of a strategic plan. Introduce and publicize return on investment standards for tourism marketing. So the new Honeycomb report that you're seeing will be out on the website, and I will be submitting that out in my Friday report so people can see what we're doing. There it is again. Introduce the monthly return on investment report. Continue the weekly meetings with the Tuesday marketing group to ensure local buy-in. Increase lodgers tax advisory board involvement in planning and monitoring. So in the past few years, the advisory board met twice a year, and I think that is by statute what they must do. What we've asked the lodgers tax advisory board to do, and what they've all agreed to do, is to meet more frequently and to really be an advisory board instead of a rubber stamp board. So we're very excited about that. And that board has representatives from museums, lodging establishments, and retail. So it's a good cross-section of the community. And then implement the New Mexico Tourism Grant. So this is what it looks like.
What we're trying to build, the marketing structure, the management structure, excuse me, the management structure that we're talking about. And we have gone, even to get to this diagram, we have shared it quite a bit with the community so that everyone understands what's happening when and where it is that they can have their input and become engaged. So if you can imagine a continuous improvement cycle where you continually plan and then you implement your plans and then you evaluate how you're doing and then you plan again. Each stage there is a cycle that we go through there involving a lot of people, the local groups, etc. Likewise in the acting, and then there is a follow-up in the check phase that will involve monthly reports to you, etc. So the idea here is that as we implement, we also check what we're doing and get better and better and better at what we're doing. And by that way, also that we would be transparent by telling people, look, where the money is going is into these things, and the reason we say it's working or it's a good idea to invest in these areas or with this plan is because we're getting the return on investment on it. Of course, if people have better proposals and they can show us better return on investment in those and the proposals that they have, then of course we'll look at them. But at least a conversation from, hopefully as time goes on, the conversation will be what's the return on investment on that decision. So anyway, that concludes our presentation. Love to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the council members? I do want to thank you, Joni, for doing an excellent job, and also kudos to Kathy Conley, who started a lot of this initiative. I think in this down economy, it's imperative more than ever that we really have a strategic plan on how we're marketing our community. And thanks to all the volunteers also that assist the town of Taos, because you folks are the ones that really see get a pulse of what is needed. And this council is very, very well aware that tourism is a big part of our economy, and we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to drive that tourism.
Just a final comment and a follow-up. I think that's the reason why this our town has weathered the storm as well as it has.
Yes.
Well, one thing, the tourism department now is doing a lot of research. They have contracted with Longwoods, which is the leading tourism marketing research organization in the world. And as they start releasing specific tourism statistics, and they're doing it by regions, I'll make sure to send it to you because I'm very anxious to see what they're seeing. And specifically looking at for every dollar that one spends on advertising, what can you expect for that dollar in taxes? And that study has never been done, and we should have that in the next couple of months. So that'll be really useful information for us.
Okay. And when you look at the good old days, Taos used to sell itself. And now, there's a lot of competition out there, resort communities, and we have so much to offer. Just those pictures, you see just a fraction of what we have. And I think that you're doing an excellent job.
Well, I have to tell you, I was on the plane going to Dallas on Southwest, and in the Spirit magazine was an ad for El Paso, and it looked just like our mountain biking ad. It was this bright sunset and these mountain bikers, and it said, "Experience the adventure only in El Paso." And I was like, "Oh, they're already knocking us off," But there is a lot of people that are marketing their adventures, and there are a lot of mountain towns, so we constantly have to set ourselves apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're doing a great job in doing that. So, thank you. Any other comments?
Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say thank you to the whole group that has been working together over the years to make Taos a destination. And we wish that you can continue that and refine all of your efforts to make it better and better and better. And whatever we can do to try to support those efforts, we will, as long as that, if it requires funds, that we'll do what we can. But we're limited just like you are in your efforts to do things. But I think that bringing minds together and coming up with new and better ideas for what we can see in this community and how the culture plays into all of the aspects that you're talking about is a real important selling factor for this community. And it's something that the newer generations coming up need to be educated in.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
My request of the council and the mayor would be, please communicate. So it doesn't have to all be one way. If you have ideas, call, text, email, smoke signals, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's clear the best way that we're going to put Taos on the map is really identify what makes Taos unique. and we have just so many things that just sets Taos apart, and, you know, from the culture to the natural environment that we have. I mean, the natural outdoors beauty that we have, so,
And the people.
Great.
People are a huge selling point here, too.
absolutely. Councilmember Beta.
Thank you, Mayor Cordova. Joni, Oscar, thank you very much for an excellent briefing. Thanks to everyone that is involved day to day. If you go back in history just a few years ago, the town of Taos was only spending roughly $100,000 in marketing and promoting Taos. We've gotten it up to 400K plus, approached 500K. We need to fight hard to keep it there. We don't need to go the other way now that the economy is so hard on everybody, because you don't want to cut off the hand that feeds you. So you guys have done an excellent job. We need to continue to push forward. The town of Taos is facing some very difficult times ahead with our revenues continuing to decline. You alluded to that in your briefing, so we're going to have to be more fiscally responsible, more stringent, and in the future we may have to make some cuts that aren't going to be pleasant, but they're going to have to be made. So thank you, and keep up the excellent work.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from the council members? If not, we'll move on to the next item. Next item, public hearing, ordinance 1213, consideration of possible approval of ordinance 1213, amending chapter 376, section 376200 of the town municipal code with respect to overtime provisions. Oscar, you had mentioned to me that Councilmember Gonzalez, of course, couldn't be here, would like to have some participation in this.
Yes.
And if this isn't a pressing issue, and if it's okay with the council, I'd like to continue this to the next meeting, if it's okay with the council, for further discussion. Councilmember Abeyta.
And Mr. Mayor, it's all perspective, and I would argue that it is a pressing issue. And given the fact that it's a pressing issue, we should continue it to the next meeting so that Councilmember Gonzalez can have an opportunity to chime in. But without getting into details, we're talking about overtime, and we have to evaluate how we manage overtime in the town of Taos. And if necessary, we have to be prepared to make some adjustments, because there's some tough days coming ahead, as I alluded to earlier. So I think it's more than appropriate, Mr. Mayor and Council, to go ahead and continue this to another meeting.
Well, I think that, you know, any council member, if they ask for that consideration, as long as it doesn't jeopardize any funding, I think, as mayor, I've always offered that consideration, so. At this time, if it is the pleasure of the council, I would entertain a motion to continue this ordinance to the meeting of November 27th at 6:30 p.m. Councilmember Peralta.
Mr. Mayor, just one question of our manager, and that is, when is the anticipated effect of this ordinance?
Our intention was that it would take effect as soon as possible, because what this tries to do is formalize an existing practice. And our council advises that the sooner we can formalize it, put it in writing, et cetera, the better for us. But that I know of, it doesn't require a 30-day sort of waiting period or anything like that. When it's approved, it becomes effective immediately, and that was our intention.
Okay. No further questions, sir.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion as described.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Abeyta.
I would ask staff to, on the November 27th meeting, be prepared to brief the two items where the overtime has the calculators and the numbers, to make sure that all council members, including myself, fully understand how those numbers are being derived. I looked at them briefly, and a little bit confusing, and I need to know a little bit more about it for the next meeting.
How about I circulate a memo to you, providing all those numbers. That way, you can come to that presentation with
Absolutely.
that briefing, and
That
we'll
would
be
be-
glad
that
to
would be
answer
fine.
questions on top of that as
That
well.
would be fine, Oscar. Just right now, the way it was, there wasn't enough information for me to fully understand
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item 10, matters from the mayor and council. Is there any items the council would like to discuss at this time? I would just like to let the listening audience know that, of course, council members, I sent out an email to each one of you. We had a retreat that was one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most productive retreats that I've attended. And that occurred on Friday. And as mayor of the town of Taos, as I reiterated in my email to each of you, those in attendance, of course, was the whole council, the manager, assistant manager, and the attorney. And I am extremely proud of the level of competence and professionalism and drive that this council has. The ideas, the ability to diplomatically work out the priorities and come to consensus is really, really, it's just a breath of fresh air. And as a mayor, I certainly appreciate that, and I know management appreciates that, because we get a clear signal as to what the council priorities are on behalf of our constituents. So congratulations on a very, very well retreat, and I have no doubt in my mind that really at the end, the citizens are the ones that benefit from it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just chime in and add to that. I too appreciate the professionalism that this entire body, as well as staff, has been working together on, and it makes it so much easier and much more pleasant when you have people treating each other with respect and you look for a common goal, and that is to enrich the lives of the people of this community. And thank you all for that.
And I believe at the next meeting, we'll have maybe just give a briefing to the audience what the council came up with as far as the priorities on
Sure.
Given the fact that we're looking at trends, economic trends, and we're preparing to ensure that the town is solvent and that we're operating solid in the black as we have. But given the recent trends, you know, we're going to have to really change the way we do business and focus on our core responsibilities, which is public health, safety, welfare, and infrastructure. So, Councilmember Peralta.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to thank everyone who participated in the retreat. And one of the things that I got out of it was the fact that over the last 6 months, it's amazing how much the council has communicated in understanding each other's positions and focused on what are the needs of the town. And I think that came out very clearly in the retreat and showed that there was a real knowledge by the council and the staff that we know where we need to go and how to get there, and we can understand that some things that we'd like to have, we can't have. But we're willing to put some of those things aside and say that's not necessarily what I will get today, but it's something for us to keep in mind for the future. And thank you all very much for your participation in that.
Great. And it was held at SMU, and I think the only downside of it is we didn't have good cell service. So but I think that was done for a reason. So if there's not anything else, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one other thing, and I would just like to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and please come back and bring your turkey with you at the next meeting.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, and we have a lot to be thankful in this economic downturn.
Absolutely.
So. Thank you, everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
I mean, for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Good night, everyone.
What is